Yes, go on now.
Right. Today I will be giving a PowerPoint presentation on discrimination in Ireland. My question is on, is there discrimination towards travellers in education? The main aims of this PowerPoint presentation is find out does discrimination exist towards the travelling community in our education system. Get a balanced, unbiased view from people of all spectrums. So that's asking people who are within the travelling community, within the education system, and just other members of society in general, who would have no bias or prejudice towards the community, travelling community. There are many legislations covering the travelling community now who would have suffered from discrimination for years. And the main legislation covering the travelling community is the Equal Status Act. This is overseen by the Equal Authority Department. It came into force in 2000 and it's been amended in 2004 with a few edits. This forbids discrimination in education, employment, training, and sale of goods. Here is just one photo of the origins of the travelling community. This is what their life would have existed like for years before obviously it got modernised and they got better facilities. Not that they've improved a huge amount. General statistics on the travelling community. This is from the Central Statistics Office. The average age of the traveller is 22.4 years old. Only 50% of travelling communities are aged under 20. 29.1% of them are aged 9 or under. Only 2.3% of the male population is over the age of 65. This indicates a low mortality rate. I conducted an interview with a member of the travelling community whom I played football with for a few years whilst he was younger. He left football about the age of 14 or 15 and around the same time left the school system as well. I was curious about interviewing him because we always felt a certain distance between our two communities, but I also wanted to know why that distance occurred. One of the main things he told me when I interviewed him was he often felt left out in primary school, but it wasn't overly bad. Of course, some things happened. He didn't get invited to birthday parties. Teachers didn't give him homework because they presumed he wouldn't do it anyway. But he said in the main it wasn't too bad, as his family had settled there for 3 or 4 generations and they had some sort of rapport with the teachers and other members of the community, whilst also noticing there was always that separation. It got progressively worse in secondary school. More students meant there was more abuse and on a larger scale. Obviously coming across people who hadn't known him and just coming across people who a bit more vulnerable and didn't mind throwing out abuse. He felt a desire to leave school from an early age. There was no emphasis on education in his family, so he'd no one pushing him back into or telling him about the benefits of staying in school. And of course teachers would have assumed he was going to leave early anyway, so they made no sort of work to try to keep him in school or keep him in the education system. He does feel a tinge of regret. He's happy what he's doing now. He went into a family business, but he wishes he was encouraged more because he felt he could have found something more about himself. And he felt, fair enough if he didn't enjoy education, but at least he would have liked to know or give it a good shot. This lack of representation of travellers in the education system is apparent throughout the whole community. Only 3.1% of travellers continue education past the age of 18. Only 9% sit their Leaving Cert. There are reasons why travellers don't put much emphasis on education. They feel there is a lack of desire from the education system to keep them in education. There's also a lack of funding and they're feeling forgotten about. The National Skills Strategy and the Further Education Training Strategy both have 0 targets for travelling communities. 86.6% of traveller specific education support funding was cut in 2011. There was a lack of mental or adequate facilities, and this hinders mental health and leads to mistrust between the government and travelling community. Only 1 in 3 travellers live in accommodation with no proper sewage system. Any questions before I go further?
Did his parents tell him to stay in school?
No, they never really made an effort to keep him in school. They wanted him to go straight into working when he was about 14 or 15. So he didn't feel the urge to stay in education then.
What did his parents want him to do instead of school?
His father owns a business, just a local business, chopping wood and working in forestry. So they just wanted him to do that. Like most traveller families, they just do what their parents did, or just go working from an early age.
What kind of people did you hand the questionnaire out to?
I'll get to the questionnaire in a minute. There is a certain division within travellers and set of communities. Travellers don't feel valued or respected in their general community. They feel their traditions aren't taken seriously. 79.4% of people, general people, are reluctant to live next door to a member of the travelling community. Also, they do face discrimination. While I haven't proven that they face it in education as much, they do face it in general society. 8 out of 10 travellers have said they've been refused entry to a pub for no apparent reason, while 5 out of 10 say they've been asked to leave a shop straight away as soon as they walk in. This division between the two communities leads to health issues in the travelling community. Traveller men are 7 times more likely to commit suicide. The suicide rate for men is 7 times higher than settled men in general. Traveller men have 4 times the mortality rate, while women have 3 times more mortality rate. I handed out a questionnaire to members of the public. One of the questions I asked was, do you believe discrimination exists towards travellers? 25 people were asked and 23 said yes, they believe so. I also asked, should the government do more? Over 75% of people said yes. A continuation of the questionnaire, 100% of people I asked said they went to school in a member of the travelling community. Only 8% of them believed we should be educated separately. 76% of people believe it reflected badly in Irish society that travellers don't continue education or emphasise it too much. 24% of people think schools should be given grants or financial assistance so teachers can give grinds or help outside school hours. Any questions on the questionnaire?
Did anyone refuse to complete the questionnaire?
Yes, numerous people I asked refused to do the questionnaire. They felt they weren't informed enough about travelling aspects, or they didn't feel like they trusted or respected travelling communities as much and didn't want to give an answer. I researched to find out how travellers feel they are viewed. John Connors, an actor who appeared in Love 8 and Cardboard Gangsters, the film, he spoke with Lucy Kennedy, the celebrity, last year when she interviewed him for her TV show Living with Lucy. He was quoted as saying, if you grow up believing travellers are bad and the media is telling you they're bad, you create a bias even if you're naturally open-minded. This rings true because if you're constantly reading about media reports and they report travellers in a certain way and use bad language toward travellers, you'll automatically think travellers have a negative view of them, regardless of if you're liberal or open-minded. Also, Kathleen Lawrence, who is in her final year of sociology and law at Maynooth University, was interviewed for Palvey Point last year. She stated how hard the adjustment to education was, as she faced many obstacles from lecturers or other students who felt she would drop out soon anyway, so she didn't feel she got the proper respect. She was quoted as saying, college was definitely an adjustment, not just for me, but also my family, who found it hard to wrap their heads around it as it's not the norm in my community. This also rings true about my friend who I interviewed earlier this month. He spoke about how their parents don't pursue it, and even if you do pursue education, you can be ostracised and feel a bit separated, as they think you're getting above yourself. Any questions?
Does John Connors feel he was stereotyped?
Yes, he feels he only gets certain roles as playing either a traveller or some sort of gangster role.
Does he regret taking some roles?
He regrets it in the sense that he feels he can't escape from that now. He does feel like he needed to do it and he needed to get his name out there and it was important for his career, but he feels like he can take the next step in his career. He feels if he just continues to do them roles, then he'll never break out from that. And just to conclude this, what I feel we need to do is get rid of the negative language towards the travel community. The media use words like knacker so liberally and so much that it gives the impression that using this word is okay. Even if we're not using it to discriminate against the traveller community, we're constantly using it and we're constantly using it around travellers. I think government should bring in modern policies to encourage communities to stay in education. This should perhaps be given in the form of grants or assistance that teachers can work outside of hours, or even separate teachers purely for the travelling community. It also includes more funding for education and also for people in disadvantaged communities. Possibly they don't have access to schools or they can't get there, so maybe putting on more public transport. And also I think we should clamp down on how the media portrays travelling communities. If the media were discriminating against other parts of society, they would be clamped down by the government or punished, and rightly so. But they can use whatever language they want freely towards the travelling community and they never feel any blowback from it. They over-publicise events and incidents involving travellers while they feel they have a free rein to criticise. So I feel the media are culpable of this and they should be criticised rightly so.